There's a shelter pet who wants to meet you. Meet one today. Visit theshelterpetproject.org. Adopt.
Welcome to Community Spotlight. I'm your host, Leah Hasledge. Today's Spotlight is on the City of Cleveland's Animal Care and Control and Cleveland Kennels. Our guest is John Baird, who is the Chief Animal Control Officer with the Division of Animal Care and Control. Welcome, Chief.
Good morning.
So start off by telling us what the mission is of Animal Care and Control and the services you offer.
Okay. The Division of Animal Care and Control is under the Department of Public Safety. So as the name says, is we're out there for the safety of the public. We're out there patrolling the streets, looking for any stray, loose dogs. We investigate dog bites. We respond to complaints for nuisance animals such as barking dogs or your neighbor's dog or a neighbor permitting a dog to run loose in the neighborhood. And we come out there and we cite those owners or we issue them warning notices.
Now, if your dog does go missing or if you come upon a stray dog, what are the steps in the process to do?
Well, if your dog comes up missing, the first thing you should do is hopefully you have an updated picture of your dog. Everybody has a cell phone, so hopefully it's on their cell phone. And you post that and you check with all the animal control facilities in your area and you can post that picture. And some places even have websites where you can post that picture. And I believe that when people do that, they really will find their pet. Most importantly, though, is that pet should be microchipped and should be wearing a dog license to identify that dog. They usually will get that dog back within 24 hours.
Now, is there a good chance if the dog does go missing that it's in the kennel?
There's a good chance. We get approximately 4,000 dogs a year that we find on the street. So there is several kennels around, but sometimes there's good Samaritans out there that'll take the dog, instead of turning it into the shelter, they'll take it home, thinking that they're doing a service for that animal. However, the person's never going to find it at their home.
Tell us about the Cleveland Kennel. I know we have a new one coming going into 2019.
Yes, we should be. Hopefully, we're going to be moving in near middle to the end of December. It's going to be a state-of-the-art facility that's going to be so much nicer for the animals while they're housed at the kennel. It's going to be a nice place for the public to come to, and we're hoping that we'll be empty. We're hoping that animals are going to leave there as quick as they come in.
And you can adopt a dog through there as well.
Yes, we're going to have a great adoption program going on with our 300 great volunteers that help us out every day.
And is there a phone number for people to contact if they want to adopt a dog? I know there's City Dogs, which is all over social media,
yes,
showing all the wonderful dogs available to take home.
Yes, Facebook's with the City Dogs is a good thing, and then you can also call our adoption line is 216-664-3476.
Now, you mentioned nuisance dogs. If
Yes.
there's barking and stuff like that, what do you do if you see a dog being neglected or abused, or you come across like the whole dog fighting situation? Like, what do you do in that situation?
Okay, well, there's several things you can do. You can call the Animal Protective League, and their number is 216-771-4616, and they have a team of animal investigators. You also can call us at 664-3069, and we will also assist in those matters. Dog fighting, you should call the police if you see it in progress. And then if you think there might be dog fighting somewhere, you can also call us at the kennel, and we will get that to the right people.
Now, you mentioned the APL.
Yes.
It's a big misconception that you guys and the APL are the same, but APL is totally different than Animal Care and Control. Is that correct?
That is true. The big difference between Animal Care and Control and the Animal Protective League is the Animal Protective League is a private, nonprofit organization. So all their funds come through donations. Where the City of Cleveland Animal Control, we're taken care of through local taxes. And their mission is for the protection of animals, and we're more for the protection of the public.
Now, you mentioned, obviously, you're getting the new facility for the kennel and people can adopt, but there is an overcrowding issue that happens from time to time. What do you do in the instance when the kennel becomes overcrowded?
Even before they come overcrowded, what we do is we have many partners and rescues and several other animal control organizations that we can transfer animals to. One of them being the Animal Protective League, one being Cuyahoga County Kennels. And then we have numerous rescues that will come in and help us get dogs out of the kennel so we don't have to euthanize.
What's something people would be surprised about with the Cleveland Kennel or getting to adopt one of these great dogs?
Well, I think people would be really surprised if they came down there and interacted with these dogs. Most of them are pit bull mixes, and they're great dogs. And we spend a lot of time walking these dogs, having them interact with other dogs. We've not noticed any problems. These dogs are going to be great pets for somebody.
And that's another misconception, is that pit bulls are not a good dog to have around, especially with families, but that's not true.
That's not true. They're mixed breed dogs anyway, so you really don't know how much pit bull's in these dogs, if any. They may appear to look like a pit bull, but they're just like any other dog. They have the same traits as other dogs, and just seeing really helps them to be adopted is our volunteers that interact with these dogs and walk them all every day. And they're just as good as any other dog, and we've not really had any problems with our adoptions.
Now, you mentioned microchipping earlier,
Yes.
and I've heard that term, but what exactly is microchipping?
Microchipping is where you would have a chip implanted between the shoulder blades of the dog, and it can be detected with a scanner. So it's not like a GPS where you can just go on your phone and you can find your lost dog. What happens is most places that work with animals scan every animal that comes into their place, and that's how we're able to track down to find the owner.
For those that might be apprehensive, it is a completely safe procedure.
It's very safe. Very safe. If you're taking your dog for vaccination, that's how long it would take. It's done within 5 seconds. We scan it to make sure the chip's there and it's readable, and it's a very safe, and it's probably the most foolproof method that we have of getting dogs back home.
Now, does the Division of Animal Care and Control spay and neuter dogs?
We do not at this time. However, any animal that's adopted from our shelter is spayed or neutered before it goes home through a couple of our contracts with veterinarians.
Yeah, because you have a few that you work with, and that's all, I believe, on the City of Cleveland's Animal Care and Control website.
Yes.
Yeah, and we'll also have that for you at tv20cleveland.com. We're going to take a quick break, but when we return, we're going to have some tips for you with your furry friends and learn more about animal care and control. So stay tuned for more Community Spotlight.
There's a shelter pet who wants to meet you. Meet one today. Visit theshelterpetproject.org. Adopt.
Welcome back to Community Spotlight. I'm your host, Leah Haslage. Today's Spotlight is on the City of Cleveland's Animal Care and Control and Cleveland Kennels. Our guest is John Baird, who is the Chief Animal Control Officer with the Division of Animal Care and Control. Welcome back, Chief.
Thank you.
Now let's talk again with those tips for your furry friends, starting with weather. Going into winter, but of course all the seasons have different things you need to look out for with your pets. So
That's
what
true.
should we look into?
Well, for winter weather, one thing to keep in mind is if you're cold, your pet's cold. It's really important that if you do keep your dog outside, that it has plenty of water, and check that water frequently so it doesn't freeze. If you have an animal shelter out there for the animal, it shouldn't be flat on the ground. It should be up off the ground, and you should have straw or hay in that shelter. It'd also be good not to have the opening of the shelter face the west, which is where the wind's coming from, and it would be good to have a flap on that to avoid wind blowing into that shelter. If you use blankets or towels, you need to change them because when they become wet, they'll never dry, and it's just going to be worse for the animal in that shelter.
Yeah, because an ice cube basically.
Right.
Yeah.
So, and they really shouldn't be kept outside, and anything that's under 32 degrees, they should be, if they're your pet, they should be in your home, not outside.
Yeah. Let them out to use the restroom and come back in.
That's perfect.
Yeah. Now, what about when we move into spring, summertime?
Spring is okay for the dog to be outside. It's a great time for them to start to get some exercise and fresh air. But in the summer, when it gets very hot, an animal shouldn't be left outside in direct sunlight. And again, make sure they have plenty of water. And please do not leave your pet in the car when you go shopping. It's the worst thing you can do to an animal.
Yeah, I mean, even just cracking a window isn't enough.
It's definitely not enough. And same in the winter. If you leave a dog in a car, it becomes like a refrigerator. So it's not good to leave your pet in it. Just leave them at home where it's warm.
Now, what are some other tips we can do? You mentioned the cell phone before, having a picture on hand.
Yes.
And what else can we do?
Like in the winter times, if you're taking your dog for a walk for some exercise, check their pads. Make sure that no salt gets in there because that really irritates. It's very sensitive when when you get between the cracks in there. And maybe give them a little more food in the wintertime. That helps them burn off that energy, and it keeps them a lot warmer.
Now, you need a license to have a dog, right?
Yes, in the state of Ohio, every dog is required to have a dog license.
And what's that whole process?
That whole process, and Cuyahoga County is responsible for the dog licenses in the Cleveland area. So those licenses go on sale December 1st until January 30th. And after that time, if you purchase a license after that or you're found without a license, the actual price goes from $20 to $40. So it's a $20 penalty for not buying the dog license on time.
So you have to renew it every year?
You have to renew it every year.
Just like your driver's license?
Yes, and they do have several options where you can buy a lifetime license or you can buy a several-year license, but that would be up to your preference.
You mentioned volunteerism earlier when it comes to the kennels and with animal care and control. And I've noticed with the City Dogs websites in particular, you have a great team of volunteers. How can someone get involved, and what would they be doing if they did get to volunteer?
Well, that's a great question. We have almost 300 volunteers, and they can call our adoption hotline, which also is handled by volunteers, and they can do many things. Like we have a lot of them that will come down and walk dogs. There's people that are on committees that do fundraising, or go out to special events or have adoption events. So there's people coming and going there that it's amazing the things they're doing. There's so many people walking dogs up and down the street. It's very nice, but it's almost unlimited. You can help in the kennel. It's almost your preference. We do have orientations, and there's different levels of the volunteers depending on what they've been trained at. So they're just a huge help getting those animals home.
Do you accept donations and supplies?
Yes, we do accept supplies, and we do accept donations. We do have what's called the Dog Pound Gift Fund, is where we're able to deposit that money, and that's used to enhance their time at the kennel with toys or treats or any special needs that the animals may need.
Do you deal with cats as well?
Very little cats. What we do is we will come out on an injured cat. So we don't want an injured cat to lay there to suffer, so we will come out and pick up a cat. But the city of Cleveland pays a contract for the Animal Protective League to do a trap, neuter, release program. Oh. So people, if they trap the cat, the Animal Protective League will spay or neuter it, and the city of Cleveland will pay for that. The cat is then released back to where it was found, and it takes care of them reproducing in the public.
Now, aside from the cats and dogs, what other wildlife does Animal Care and Control deal with and handle?
Well, we do have a wildlife trapping program where we will lend out traps to residents for possums, raccoons, skunks, or groundhogs. We will lend you the trap. If you catch anything in it, we will come up, pick up the animal, remove it, bring you back the empty trap for as long as you need it, and all we ask for is a $20 returnable deposit, which means you'll get your $20 back when you're done with the trap.
And now, do you get rid of the animal, and what happens to the animal?
Well, once by state law, we're required to euthanize that animal, so they just want to make sure that there's a control, that there's no rabies, which we've been very fortunate in this area that we have not seen rabies in quite a long time, and they're overpopulated in the city, and it's very unsafe. So we feel that's just a program that's well worth it.
Now, it's one thing trapping it outside. I know I was telling you earlier I had a personal experience where a raccoon got into my house, into the attic, and gave birth. What do you do in a situation where you have an animal like a raccoon or chipmunks or such? Do you guys come inside and help trap it, or do you have to call somebody else?
Yeah, unfortunately, you'd have to call a private vendor because of the liability issues if there was any damage caused inside the home. We do require that the resident call a private company to come out, and they're very good at removing those animals. It's a little pricey, but the longer you wait, the more damage they do. It's well worth the money by doing it as soon as you think there's a problem.
Are there any animal restrictions in the city of Cleveland, like exotic pets? Like if you want a pet peacock or tiger, is there a restriction to that?
Yes. We have quite an extensive list. We thought we've probably listed every animal that we can think of that's an exotic animal, with snakes, camels, tigers. There was a period of time that if anybody had one, they were grandfathered in if they received the permit, but nobody applied for a permit, so there is no exotic animals permitted in the city of Cleveland.
Is there anything else you think that the viewers should know about the City of Cleveland Animal Care and Control and the kennels?
Yes, it's going to be a great place to come visit the new place, and even if you have one pet, 2 pets are great. just come on down, help us out, help the animals in the city of Cleveland.
And where can we get more information?
I can get more information if you would call 216-664-3069, or you can go on Facebook to City Dogs Cleveland.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Chief. I know I learned a lot today, and I'm sure our viewers have as well. And of course, you can get more information at our website, tv20cleveland.com. I'm Leah Haslage for Community Spotlight and TV20. Until next time.